Hello, everybody out there. This is Chet Mann again with Guild Mortgage and Team Chet. And I'm here with a guy that I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with now a few times, Trevor Miller with the Call Residential Group, one of the top real estate companies in the Triangle area of North Carolina. And Trevor's one of their top guys, and just a delight to work with. Trevor does it the way it should be done. He's very professional. And we're rolling into this buying season, Trevor. So we wanted to do a quick little sit down here to get his perspective on things and talk about buying first time and maybe even move up buyers, but also kind of what this market's doing. So thanks for letting me sit down with you today, Trevor.
Yeah, and I'm glad to be here. I guess if I had to give a couple of pointers for a first time buyer right now, it would be to really know what your comfort level is on your monthly payment. I like to have that conversation early on and sort of work backward from there and establish a budget based on what they're comfortable with monthly, because it's a long-term commitment.
Now that's great advice. Before I expand on that, tell us a little bit about yourself and how
Sure.
long you've been around here and doing this thing.
Yeah, I've been in real estate since 2015, and I've been with this group almost 3 years in June. I came to this team because really the support that they offer and the resources, lead flow is really important as a broker, and then resources to help all of those leads get to the closing table.
So like 2015 is now a long time in real
Right,
estate.
yeah.
Most people don't make it that long. If
Yeah.
they do, they're going to be in it forever.
Yeah,
So congratulations.
Yeah,
for
thank
that.
you. I'm fortunate enough to see, a cycle
Mhm.
and see a few different markets. And
Right.
so it's a lot easier now than it was during the pandemic, but it's still a challenge, especially for first
And
timers.
so that something you said right there, a cycle, tells me that you're a pretty seasoned pro because we've come through a cycle.
Mhm.
And I think we're coming out of one of the harder, more slower periods over the last 9 months or so.
Yep.
And things seem to be picking up. And you mentioned the perspective of a first time or even any home buyer right now going to this market. Trevor, one of the things that we coach and we talk about at Guild is one of the top things that our customers need right now is education.
Right.
There's so much miseducation about the market, and where they get their news is really important because typically it's
Yeah.
not the greatest source. This is where you need to get the news, right here.
Yeah.
And because we kind of understand the market, and a realtor brings great value to that. What are you seeing in the Wake County, Cary, North Carolina market right now? Is it tilted more still to sellers or buyers, or what's your take
Sure.
on that?
I mean, technically, it's an inventory question, right? So
Yeah.
if we've got 6 months or more of inventory, it becomes a buyer's market. We're not there now. It's a little bit easier on buyers right now. There's some more availability for negotiations and seller credits, which will dwindle as we get further into the spring market. But really, we're at still under 2 months of market supply in Wake County. So we're far from a seller's market, or far from a buyer's
Right.
market. But still better than we were, where we were at 2 weeks supply last year.
Yeah, we're seeing year-over-year numbers now coming in much better, higher. Still a supply and demand market, which means I think to a buyer and a seller to a certain extent, because they have to think about strategically when they're going to list their house.
Right.
Right now, it's still a tougher market for a buyer. However, we feel like there's a cost to waiting, and there's this buying versus renting analysis thing that's going on that we like to work together with Trevor to let our customers understand the numbers, so that, and you led off with, let's get a payment, let's understand, let's make sure we have our budget aligned with our priorities,
Right.
and not waste a lot of time looking at homes we can't afford or homes that are just not within reach. But you and I had talked about this, the average home price. What are we looking at?
We're in,
around here?
and really in Wake County, it's upper fours. Cary is now into the 500s.
Is it
It's
really?
average
Yeah.
price point.
It's a
Yeah.
great place to live.
Right.
Everybody wants to be here.
Yeah, best schools, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's really important to work with someone who knows those markets and understands the market conditions, so that we're not trying to offer 2020 type COVID pricing or expectations in the marketplace. Interestingly, when you look at buying versus renting, what do you think the average rent for a first time or a moderate home buyer would be looking at in the Cary area?
So I can give you a story. So my sister just moved here from Texas.
Oh, you got a real life family.
Right,
tree.
yeah, and she was coming from a home that she owned and bought it and refinanced during COVID. So she had a really low rate. Her payment was really manageable, but she was getting here to be closer to the family, and really she didn't need much in a house. She was open to a 2-bedroom, but ideally a 3-bedroom townhouse or house. and the bottom dollar that I was seeing for anything really livable or decent was 1800.
Right.
And she wanted to be in Cary, so she's closer to 2,000, and it's a pretty modest 3-bedroom, 1 level.
So that's a very realistic description of what you could look for or expect to find in a rental.
Around 2,000 is, is kind of an anchor right now for anything decent.
And here's the thing that I want to impress upon people. If you can get pre-approved in this market today, I think I can make a pretty compelling case for making the investment to purchase rather than continue to rent. And here's kind of why. Based on what you just said, in that price range, if you rented and had a 3% increase every year, you're probably going to end up paying, in 9 years, you'd be paying like $243,000 in rental.
Right.
But also the cash flow difference in renting versus buying. If you just hold the home for 9 years, if you own the home for 9 years, that same comparable rent, you would actually have a cash flow difference of over $25,000.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense when you look at these numbers that there's a lot of benefits. Appreciation gain in Cary, North Carolina, in just those 9 years on that particular rent versus buying is almost $100,000 that you forego in appreciation. So we always like to say that we are building wealth through
Right.
home ownership. So I think with Trevor, if you're looking at the market, we ought to have those serious conversations about continuing to rent versus buying if you feel like you can't, because we have a lot of low down payment loans. We have a lot of no down payment loans depending on who you are and what programs you qualify. We even have a 1% down first time home buyer program.
Really?
And it's completely forgivable. So, you can put down 1% as the buyer and Guild will do a 2% grant.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For the down payment, for a 3% down Fannie Mae loan to value, 97 loan to value. So there are ways that you can get into a home and quit renting if you're at that place in life where you're ready to make that jump.
Yeah. I've got another real world example.
Yeah,
So
give it to
I'm
us.
39, I'm in my second property. Our first house was a townhome. We lived there for 3 years and it appreciated 40,000. So, and that was in southwest Raleigh. So we rolled that into our new house.
That's pretty
that
huge.
we bought in Garner, which was more up and coming at the time, 2017, and now our equity there is around 160. So I know that we've got that cushion there, and we'll roll that into our next larger property.
Right, so you'll just equity up.
That's right.
You can do that here in the Triangle. I mean, one of the things we're blessed with, Trevor, is we live in one of the hottest areas in the United States, and if not all of North America, and probably the world. I mean, there are so many jobs being created here. So my question to you is, if I'm a buyer and I come to you and say, hey, Trevor, I just think I'm going to wait. I just think the rates are going to get better and the house prices are going to go down.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate all the hard work you've done.
Yep.
I know I love this house, but I'm going to convince my wife we're going to wait 6 months or a
Sure.
year. What would you respond to
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Well, I say, listen, you have to do what's best for you and your family, but you just need to look at the numbers to make sure that that is the best financial decision for your family. So we control what we can control, right? So the rates are going to change. They're going to go up and down, but what we've seen historically in our market is the prices do one thing and then go up. So, waiting 6 months from now, particularly at this time in the year, waiting until after spring and summer market would be the worst time of the year. You would wait 6 months.
True or false? Will there be more buyers trying to buy fewer homes 6 months from now than there are today?
I think there will be. Yeah.
Absolutely, there will be. And I think the numbers that really kind of go along with what Trevor's telling us is that, if you wait 6 months to 2 years, that same house is going to go up about $96,000 in cash to close.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be additional cash by waiting at least $7,000 more in closing costs or in down payment. And here's the interesting thing. As rates go down, and we predict they will, we know that in every period of high inflation or recessions, and we're in one now, whether people believe it or know it or not, we probably are, we've always seen mortgage rates drop really fast as soon as the Fed rates start to be cut, which is probably going to happen around June of this year. When that happens and rates drop, every time since, I don't know if you realize this or not, you probably do, since 1960, median home prices have just skyrocketed. They've gone straight up. So the customer that I was role playing that says, I think I'm going to wait, honestly, we could show them the historical figures that say waiting is going to just cost you more.
Right.
So a $400,000 house here in Cary will actually cost about $39,000 to wait 2 years to buy it, and about $16,000 or $17,000 just to wait a year to buy it. So you're going to pay more the longer you wait.
And really, a lot of first-time buyers, the cash to close is sort of the linchpin.
That's right.
And cash to get into a transaction, not even the closing, is the one missing piece here, because as those rates drop and the prices go up, it goes up because of competition. And in our market in North Carolina, competing in that type of market means a really large non-refundable upfront and paying 3 to 5% above the listing price, which is coming out of pocket at closing.
Exactly. And if Trevor and I are more right than wrong about rates dropping and home prices going up in the Triangle area, get this, I did the numbers on this. If rates were to drop, a whole point or point and a half, and prices go up the way we think they will based on historical data, the savings on the payment by waiting when the rates drop is $9 on a $400,000 house.
Yeah.
You would only save $9, but your cash out of pocket at closing is going to be that $7,000 or $8,000 more just by waiting a year.
Wow.
So I don't know that it makes sense to wait to save $9 but pay $9,000 or $10,000 more on a $400,000 house.
Yeah.
So I think that's the compelling reason why we wanted to sit down and talk about, hey, if you're renting or if you're looking at moving up or you just want to buy a house in the Triangle with Trevor, I think waiting can cost you more. And we're rolling into a very upbeat time of year. We're coming out of a cycle that I think might be a great time to buy now versus waiting.
Yeah.
The best time to buy is when you're ready to buy.
Right.
But this could be a super time if you know you're pre-approved and you've been thinking about it. I think you may have an easier time buying in March and April than you will July or August.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. So anything else you want to share maybe about what you see in the marketplace, or maybe how people can work with you better?
Yeah, well, I would say, a strategy piece for first-time buyers to consider is, a lot of people, if they're just, they've been thinking about this and researching it, and they think that they're going to buy this house and live there for the rest of their life. Statistically, it's very unlikely. So the average mortgage is 5 to 7 years. So telling first-time home buyers, just to be pre-approved and be able to buy in one of the hottest markets in the country is a big achievement. So be proud of that.
Oh, yeah.
And think of this as, what are we buying? Are we buying a 5-year house or a 10-year house? Is this our dream house? Day one, maybe not. Let's get into something you can be comfortable in and let that equity grow, and then let that house buy your next house with the equity growth.
And in the Triangle area, all you have to do, if you're not familiar with the Triangle area, is just Google all the jobs and the companies that are coming, from Apple to Google to everybody else.
Nike and every battery plant and EV. And
I would think that any home you could get into, that's a win. But wow, will it be a good investment over time? In fact, I hate to keep going back to my sheet, but we're projecting in 2 years in Cary, North Carolina, even in this market, over a 9.5% appreciation gain.
Wow, yeah.
Just in 2 years.
Yeah.
Coming out of a really slow, kind of a hard time in our history with rates so high or higher. When they come down, it's going to be amazing what happens here, but waiting for them to come down is just going to cost you more.
Yeah.
I would do a 9% gain on a $400,000 or $500,000, $600,000 house. I think that would be a good investment.
And just splitting that, let's say it's 4.5% each year. When we came off of 21 and 22% growth for a couple of years during the pandemic, it sounds reasonable.
Mind-boggling. It does sound reasonable.
It does, yeah.
That was a little frosty, a little over-exuberant.
It wasn't fun for anybody.
Yeah. Well, Trevor, you've been awesome. You've always been such a gentleman to work with. And last year you kind of slowed it down just a little bit and still sold a ton of houses.
Yeah.
And you want to tell us what the big event in your life was?
Sure.
Last
Well,
year?
we had our second child.
Yeah.
She just turned a year old.
That's
and
cool.
That, we had the first one during the pandemic, and it was a really busy time, and I had to miss a lot of stuff, so I committed to being there more this time, and I slowed down the first half of the year. But average price point is up because home prices are up, and I really didn't make that much less with about 15
Well, I was going to
units.
say, you slowed down because you're a family guy, and I think that's what makes you real. He's a real person who has his values right. But you still had a really great year.
Yeah, it was great.
And now you're kind of like going more full bore.
Now I'm ramping up. Yeah.
So I think he would be a great person to work with, and I do wish you a great 2024. I think the best part of 2024 is getting ready to happen.
I think so. Yeah.
This first quarter's almost over, and I think the second, third, and fourth are going to be phenomenal.
I do too.
Especially right here, and hopefully for you.
Yep.
So if you want to reach out to Trevor, if you want to just learn more about real estate, even if you're not ready to buy, I'm sure he would be happy to talk to you.
For
You
sure.
want to tell them how they can reach you?
Yeah, we'll put my email and phone number there. I would love to start with a Zoom strategy session, a buyer consult, so you can do that from the comfort of your home, and we can talk about the market, your situation, run some numbers, and then pull up some listings and show you, what we can see online in your budget.
I love that. And with me, if you would like to work with me, I think it's important that whoever you use works with Trevor. I think the best way to win a deal in 2024 is to have a team behind you. And so when the realtor and the lender are working together, I like to do the same thing. We like to have a pre-purchase consultation after we pre-approve you to make sure that your goals and your financial objectives are in line, and we understand how to structure the loan for you, because as he's mentioned earlier, if you're going to be here 3 years or 13 years, we're probably going to approach it differently.
Sure.
As how we structure it. But working together, lender and realtor, we can talk about closing costs and seller pays and things that we need to know going into the offer to potentially save that client a lot of money.
Yeah.
And hopefully give you a super loan that will help you meet your budgetary needs over the life of it. And if you get in line now, we'll probably be able to put you into a great refinance situation too. But having that pre-purchase consultation, we can do that by phone or by a Zoom call or in person, is probably the best way to get it started.
Yep.
So know who you're with and pick the great people that can help you achieve your goals. And I think together with Trevor, we can make some dreams come true and build some wealth through home ownership.
I know we can, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
All right. Give us a call if you need us. I'm Chet Mann with Guild Mortgage. Trevor Miller with Call Residential Group. We'll talk to you soon.